You don't have the, you don't have, this is not your area, this is not part of you. So thank you. You doing this, and this is not even part of you.
Just moms.
Yep.
Just moms. So we want to say thank you. I want to say thank you. A lot of work goes undone. I am, like I said, executive director of Believers Hope, and a lot of the things that I have done, they're unnoticed, but you all are unsung heroes. Know that.
So are you.
Good evening, I'm Jeffrey Jackson, one of your two Airport Township committeemen. I've been aware of this issue since former Senator Marie Nadal-Chapal. She did amazing work on this and really brought out attention to this and made it awareness. And to do this, she resigned or didn't run again for re-election so she could continue to work on this. So thank you all and thank everybody up there.
Any other electeds or anybody need to say anything? All right, here you go, Don.
Thank you very much. We always start out with elected officials. We also have Dr. Amanda Mullen from Senator Hawley's office, and we have Madeline Castle also here from Senator Hawley's office to answer questions. Since Senator Hawley authored the legislation, his staff not only worked hard to pass it, but has been working equally hard with all of us up here to make sure that you guys have what you need. He has a designated staffer now who can help you fill out and understand these applications. We also have Danielle Spradley here from St. Louis County. She's the outreach coordinator, and she will introduce herself. She is actually going to go through the presentation and also list in this presentation what's going on with resources at the library and where you guys can go to get some of these documents certified. And then we have Debbie Disser, Debbie's over here, who runs our website and whatnot. So it's good to see you all. One thing that we want to say, first of all, can I see a show of hands? How many people have been impacted by the radioactive waste in this water? That's almost everyone. Okay. When we do this presentation, you will see a list of cancers, and you will see a list of zip codes. What's important to us is that you all know that we recognize that there should be some more cancers on this list. And we did fight for there to be more, and we are going to continue to fight. And we say that because even if your cancer is not on this list, please come see us afterwards, please come talk to us, because we need your voice and your help to document these other illnesses that need to be added. We are already working towards that. The other thing is addition of zip codes. If you do not see your zip code on here, please come see us afterwards. We know that there is more work going on, more work to do, specifically for 2 zip codes downtown St. Louis. We are working very hard, and there's a group that is forming to help with that as well. The other thing, first and foremost, RECA, the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, is an apology by the federal government. So it means it's real. It means that this harmed you or your loved one, and the government is for the first time acknowledging that for Missouri. But RECA itself as a program has been around for 35 years. It was introduced in 1990 by Senator Orrin Hatch, and we always should have been a part of it. We should have probably been the first state added because of our role. But we were not, because so much of what has happened here, so much of what your mayor has fought so hard to open, such as pipelines, mysterious pipelines, going to other senators and all these other communities out west that were part of RECA, had no clue the role that we played as Missouri and St. Louis in processing this waste. So that was a big part of the education that Senator Hawley's office had to do. So now that we are added, one thing to remember, this program, like I said, been around for 35 years, has already paid out over $2 billion. So yes, people who apply do get compensation from this program. but the applications for Missouri look different. Senator Hawley and all the other RECA senators worked hard to update the application and to make it just a bit easier. But I still wouldn't call it easy. We recognize that this is going to be a barrier for some, and that's why we're here. The other thing I'm going to let Karen talk about is the current status of exposures.
So, I also want to point out that we recognize your illnesses, and we also recognize that saying we're sorry is not enough. And we also recognize that this just is not fair. And it's hard. And our community needs to be put back whole, and we need to get our lives back for the future of our generations to come. Here's the problem. Coldwater Creek is still contaminated. The creek has not been cleaned up at all, except for the area of the elementary school, Gianna Elementary, that was closed and cleaned up because of public pressure. There are still exposures happening. The Army Corps of Engineers could be cleaning up to a more protective level. We need, as a community, as you are sitting in this room tonight, you are all here because you or your loved ones have been harmed. And the reason behind that is because we have radioactive waste in our community that still needs to be cleaned up. So we need your help. We need an expedited cleanup of that creek. We need these levels lowered, and we need all of you to help and push in those directions the same way that we have been doing for the past 13 years. So there will be calls for action to help get these levels lowered, and different ways that you can help. You can follow our page, JustMomsSTL.org, or on Facebook. Our website is JustMomsSTL.org. We need your help, and we really, really would appreciate if, even after you have filled out your application and sent it off in the mail, that you continue with us in this fight.
We also want to introduce real quick Dr. Chantel Jones with the Pink Angels Foundation and let her speak. She is going to be a key component in helping you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am a doctor, for those in the back, I'm sorry. Dr. Chantel Jones, former state representative of District 67. We are tasked with providing a RECA resource hub. We are located at 620 North Lafayette Street, but I do want to caution everyone, we have not gotten through Florissant just yet, but I do have a contact information that you can call us, and we will schedule an off-site visit where we are assisting everyone in completing their application. The phone number is 314-441-5560. That's 314-441-5560. And we're excited that today we actually have 2 seniors send out their applications today, so we're proud of them. So we are seeing a number of applications that are coming in. Be confident. Don't overcomplicate completing this application. It asks for specific documents. Don't complicate it. A lot of the questions are, do we need original documents, and will we get those documents back? We do not want to keep them. So just imagine that you are actually filling out for a passport. This information is going to the federal government, and so you will receive those documents back. And so the reason for the RECA Resource Hub is if you're having challenges with locating documents, if you are just not sure and want a second set of eyes to see if there's anything that you've forgotten, or if you have overlooked, or if any additional information is required, we're there for you as well. And so we will work in tandem with Senator Holly's office as well. We have WashU law students that will be joining us on site if there are any other questions or things surrounding survivorship or things of that nature, but we're not under the discretion of the DOJ. So everything that you submit is up to their discretion. We are just simply advocates and community volunteers that will be able to assist everyone in completing your application. So we're excited to serve over 21 zip codes. And so we're asking everyone if you could please extend us some grace. We are trying to answer each and every email, phone call, and every knock on the door. And so we hope to see you all soon, and we love to come. Thank you. And I forgot to mention that the whole purpose in advocacy is that I am a two-time breast cancer survivor. I've lost my mother to breast cancer, aunt to breast cancer, my father pancreatic cancer, two cousins that are survivors. My cousin's son was born with a brain tumor. A cousin who had a rare kidney disease or kidney cancer. And so it's very personal for me to be that lifeline to the community. And so I invite you all, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Really quick, before I hand it over to Danielle, one thing that I want to point out to you guys. So when you look at this application, there were some copies up here. We will be getting more. You can also get a copy of this application at any of the local St. Louis County branches of the library. This is the oldest document that we have that documents that we were being harmed and shows that the federal government knew. For the Department of Justice, when we say we had to fight for this program, we had to fight for everything, every single cancer, every one of those 21 zip codes. We had to prove somehow or other had and was impacted by Manhattan Project waste. When you are applying for this, if you have lost a loved one, you can go all the way back to 1949 because of this document. Again, it's the oldest document we have, and basically what this says is this is the government talking about the barrels and the materials that sat out along Coldwater Creek at the airport site. And specifically, they were going to send workers out there because the barrels were disintegrating and it was leaking into Coldwater Creek. They were going to try and salvage that material and bring new barrels and move it. And the government said, oh, no. That's too dangerous for workers. Just let it keep leaking into the creek. The hazards it poses for doing that are less than what it would take for workers to do that. You guys are in this room now because you know that's not true. Letting that leak into this creek as early as 1949 started a chain reaction that is catastrophic, and that's why you all are here. And so that's why it goes back. If you'll go skip the next one and go to the last one. The other thing to remember, this document talks about a shipment of classified material, and this is 1965. While we know some of what we were exposed to, a lot of you all and your illnesses and your stories are testimony. The same thing with Rep. Jones talking about how many members of her family were impacted. We do not know completely everything we were exposed to. We don't. Because documents are still classified. We received classified shipments of material of which even Senator Hawley has requested, what the heck was this that ended up in St. Louis, and was told, which means it's still probably classified. So again, we are a very sick community, region, all the way out to St. Charles, and this is why. Because we were exposed to some of the most dangerous things that still exist on this planet and are still in our community. I'm going to hand this over to Danielle, and she's going to go through a precise presentation on how St. Louis County is helping and where you guys can go. Do you want to do the last one?
Oh, okay.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Spradley, and I am the
the outreach liaison for County Executive Dr. Stan Page. I worked on this issue when I worked for Congresswoman Cori Bush. RECA and all things Coldwater Creek, Westlake Landfill, Manhattan Project Waste was my specialty area in the Congresswoman's office. So when she lost re-election, Dr. Page asked me to come on and continue working on these issues. So I'm gonna let Dr. M go into how Senator Hawley got it passed. But it was a fight for a couple of years. Congresswoman Bush worked on it as well. And we're so happy it finally got through. But so what does this mean for St. Louis County? So thousands of current and former St. Louis County residents or folks who worked or went to school in impacted zip codes for 2 or more years after January 1st, 1949 and contracted certain cancers will be eligible to receive compensation as either reimbursement for their documented out-of-pocket medical expenses incurred as a result of the cancer, or a one-time tax-free payment of $50,000. And I want to reiterate, it is a tax-free payment, a one-time tax-free payment. So the expansion of RECA also includes survivor benefits. The surviving spouse of a deceased individual who qualified for RECA may receive a one-time tax-free payment of $25,000. If there is no surviving spouse, each surviving child is entitled to an equal share of a one-time tax-free payment of $25,000. One thing I do want to stress, if you have brothers and sisters, don't try to ice them out of the application. Don't try to pull one over, keep the family drama out of it. The DOJ will find the other siblings that are eligible. So let's use this as an opportunity to bring family back together. Reach out to your brothers and sisters. So, these are the St. Louis County, just St. Louis County impacted area codes. And so again, that's individuals who either lived, worked, or went to school in these impacted zip codes for at least 24 months, and after, and I want to stress, after being in these impacted zip codes for 24 months, they contracted one of these cancers. So if you contracted a cancer, if you were diagnosed with a cancer before you lived in the zip code, then you're not eligible with that specific cancer. If you lived here 2 years or went to work here for 2 years, and then after you contracted a different cancer or a cancer that's on the list, then you can be eligible. So what area codes included? So it's not just St. Louis County, right? We have St. Louis City, the 63147 zip code. They are also eligible because that's where Mallinckrodt was. And that's where they were doing a lot of the refining of the uranium. And then it was carted out to St. Louis County to be buried and dispersed. Also, St. Charles County has a lot of impacted zip codes as well, like the Weldon Springs area. So what cancers are eligible? So RECA compensates individuals with certain cancers. The onset of that cancer must occur at least 2 years after the claimant's initial exposure to the impacted zip codes. And the qualifying cancers are any leukemia, provided that the first radiation exposure occurred at or after age 20. Lymphoma, except Hodgkin's disease. So that means non-Hodgkin's disease is eligible. One thing we gotta stress is these need to be primary cancers. So these cancers on the list need to be the primary cancer. So what are the following primary diseases provided the onset was at least 2 years after living in the impacted zip code? We've got multiple myeloma, lymphoma, other than Hodgkin's disease, and then these list of cancers. And there's you all have flyers that have the list of cancers. I do want to stress with liver, exceptive cirrhosis, or hepatitis B is involved, then that liver cancer is not eligible. Oh, and male breast cancer. Men get breast cancer too. And that's something important for breast cancer awareness. Men also get breast cancer. So how do impacted individuals apply? So to apply for compensation under RECA, you'll need to file a claim with the Department of Justice and provide supporting documentation that demonstrates your RECA eligibility based on your cancer diagnosis and exposure history. So at this moment, and I want to stress this, and we're going to go into this further, but we hear a lot of people talking about the online portal. That is not available at the moment. I would not count on it being available. So I want you to think about when you're gathering your documents, get them certified, just in case as a backup plan. If you're waiting on the portal, they're saying it's going to come in December, but I would not rely on that. So I would get the documentation you're gathering, get it certified, that way you know you have it in case something happens and the online portal's not working. And the county library will print out the applications for you, all St. Louis County Library branches. We're going to go into it yet. Sorry. It's okay. So the other places, if you want to print it out yourself, you have a printer and you feel comfortable with it, you can download the RECA application on the Department of Justice's RECA website, Senator Hawley's webpage, St. Louis County's RECA webpage, or the RECA-Missouri-Resources.org webpage, which is the Just Moms webpage that was built by Debbie over here, who did an awesome job, and we should all be thankful for all the work Debbie did. So this is something I want to stress. A lot of you picked up applications today, but if you're looking on the DOJ website, one thing you want to make sure is that you get the Manhattan Project Claim Form, Waste Project Claim Form. Because there are other claim forms. RECA has been a program, as John and Karen mentioned, for a long time, but it had other states, not Missouri. So the Missouri claim form is the Radiation Exposure Compensation Program Manhattan Project Waste Claim Form. Do not grab a downwinder claim form. When you're looking up things you want to add, downwinders and other communities have different money that's available. They have different things that are necessary. Senator Hawley's office and Just Moms and everybody worked really hard to make our application a lot easier than some of our other communities. Uranium workers, they have to do complicated dose reconstructions. We don't have to do that. So make sure you get this form. So what documentation can be used? So in order to establish presence, you'll need to submit a certified or original documentation that demonstrates the presence of the person who became ill within an affected area for at least 2 years. So 24 months cumulatively or consecutively after January 1st, 1949. Now I want to stress this before we go over the documents you can use. For your proof of residency, you do not need to send in an entire box of documents. That is going to hold up your application. That is going to hold up St. Louis County on getting you documents. That is going to, so if you reach out to St. Louis County and say, I need 40 years of my tax records, that is going to take up a lot of employee time. Now, Dr. Page has requested to the St. Louis County Council a supplemental budget so we can bring on some more revenue folks to help you get your documentation quicker, because right now we're also going through senior property tax freeze and regular tax season, so they're going to need some support. But so with that, you only need to prove those 2 years, right? To be safe, maybe 3 or 4. So if you were diagnosed in 1982, you need documentation from the 4 years before that, or just at least 4 years before that. You don't need all of your documentation from the time you lived here as a child, right? And you're going to want to choose the easiest route for you to find documentation. Some records aren't available anymore. There are record retention laws where the state of Missouri and the federal government said how long governments have to keep records, and sometimes they're just not available, especially with hospitals. So we have a lot of folks that are having issues with the hospitals, right? Because they don't have their medical records anymore that far back. Part of that is because the federal record retention laws on a lot of hospital records is only, on some it's 7 years. I think the state of Missouri is 7 years. that they legally have to keep. So what are some records that you can use? So we've got marriage certificates, divorce decrees, death records. One thing that's really important for survivor applications, beneficiary applications, especially if you can't find those medical records of your parent, get the long form death certificate from the state. In all likelihood, the long form is going to list the cancer diagnosis. And they don't have to have died from that cancer. It should still list that cancer diagnosis. The short form death certificate, some of them have it, some of them don't. So get that certified long form death certificate from the state of Missouri. St. Louis County cannot provide you with the long form. That has to come from the state, and I just want to stress that. So personal letters, like we've got to get creative with some folks, right? Some people were babies, some documents are hard to find, so we need to think of other ways of proving you are a resident. So envelopes, right? If you have things, if you had a birthday card mailed to you from your aunt when you were 6 years old or 4 years old, and it's a postmarked stamped envelope that has your address, that's a federal document. Because that is stamped by the United States Postal Service, which is why you don't mess with people's mail, because that's mail fraud. And it's a federal offense. But, so if you have things like that, look through old keepsakes you had if you're trying to find some documentation of where you lived. Those can be used. That is proof of residence. So church records, religious records, depending on your denomination. Some churches keep a lot of records, some don't. So reach out to your faith institution and they may have records from your childhood, baptismal records, church documents, anything, rolls. They might have documents they can certify for you. And we know right now, at least the Archdiocese has created their own RECA page that has a lot of information. And the Archdiocese has a lot of records, especially because there were a lot of Catholic schools in the area. Voting records, so St. Louis County voting records. Another reason I can't tell you how to vote, but I will tell you to register to vote, and please vote, because you never know when it'll come in handy. The Board of Elections has election records from about 1950. So if you're having a hard time finding personal property tax records or other records, the Board of Elections has voting records of folks that lived in St. Louis County, and they are public record. You can order anyone's voting record. So also school records, one of the big things, especially for people that were kids in St. Louis County, probably one of the quickest ways, because you're not going to be on a property tax roll, you're not going to be on Indeed, is for you to reach out to your school district and talk to them about getting your school records. And with that, yearbooks can be used. And St. Louis County Library has a lot of yearbooks from this area on file, and they can look that up for you. And then St. Louis County Library can certify documents. So that's one thing. St. Louis County Library is going to be a huge huge help in researching and finding documents if you can't find other avenues of finding documents. If you can't find certain tax records. St. Louis County Library has a genealogy department, they have a research history department, they have access to certain documents, and they can certify as the library. Also, utility bills. If you have old utility bills that has your address on it, that's an official document. We have tax records, deeds. Deeds with St. Louis County. One of the things we definitely have going back to the 1800s is deeds. Now, bear with us and give us some grace. This application came out way quicker than we expected. We expected this application to come out in maybe October of this year, and then the DOJ surprised us late on a Friday night, which the federal government likes to do a lot. And so we are working to get up the systems and get in the processes and figure out where everything is to help you get your documents. So if you reach out to St. Louis County and you didn't get the answer you want, you can reach out to RECA support, and I will try to help you find the best way to get those documents. But bear with us, we are inundated, right? And a lot of folks, the school districts, I want to talk about the school districts too. Their first week of school was last week, and they are getting inundated with records requests, right? And they're trying to figure this out. We are building the plane as we are flying it. So bear with everybody. They're working on getting you your stuff. They are. So medical records. You're gonna have to reach out to the hospital systems, to your medical providers to get those medical records. Unless you've gotten some things taken care of at St. Louis County Health Department of Health, or some of the old hospitals, reach out to St. Louis County. But for your medical records, you're gonna have to reach out to your medical providers. One thing that we will bring up that is coming up a lot is if you can't find your old medical records that have your cancer diagnosis. If you were to diagnose in Missouri after 1983, there is a Missouri Cancer Registry. So that means your diagnosis should be on the Missouri Cancer Registry. And for some of you that have the applications, there's a box you can check to have the DOJ look for that cancer registry.
Page 14.
So, what are the necessary documents? The necessary documents are going to differ depending on if you're self-filing or filing as a beneficiary, right? So, I want you to, the application is very specific. If you're looking at the application, they lay it out pretty clearly on what it is you will need. Depending on if you're self-filing, if you're filing as a beneficiary, it's going to be different documents. So I want you to read your applications thoroughly so you know what you're looking for. So how do you know if your document is certified? And we are getting some questions answered now with Senator Hawley's office and the DOJ about certain ways to certify things, trying to make this process easier. But certified photocopies often stamped with the seal of the seal of the issuing institution. Typically, these seals are either raised, colored, or signed in ink. If you have a document that's been stamped, send the DOJ that document. Or ask the source of the record to attach a cover letter to the record, signed and dated on letterhead stating the attached records containing number of pages pertaining to the name of person in question is a true and accurate copy of the record kept in our files. So what does that mean? So renters. Renters are going to have kind of a harder time finding documentation. But say you had a good relationship with your landlord, or that rental company is still around. Like I go have Christmas with my landlord from 15 years ago. Very weird. But if I ever needed that documentation, I could ask her, as the owner of that property, to if she doesn't have those on file, she's pretty crazy with keeping documents, so she probably does. But a lot of people don't. Ask them, as the owner of that property, to sign a certified letter saying you live there with them. So, for information on how to obtain county documents, you can visit St. Louis County's RECA webpage. So you can access this by visiting the St. Louis County homepage and clicking on this RECA Missouri claim form now available icon, or go to stlouiscountymo.gov/RECA. And on that webpage, it's going to have links to Just Mom's page. It's going to have links to Senator Hawley's office. It's going to have information on obtaining county documents. It has links to the ARCH page, and also Just Mom's website has a wealth of resources on finding documents in other ways, right? And having links to the library, St. Louis County Library page. Because they're going to be really, for a lot of you, really helpful in this process. But also give them time, give them grace. Don't just go up to the library and say, I need these documents now. Like, they're not going to be able to do that. They already have hundreds of people that have filled out requests for document searches. So the best thing is to go on St. Louis County Libraries. They have a portal for this. You fill out the portal request. And I want to stress, even with St. Louis County information, because what right now, I'm the one handling the RECA support inbox. And I'm getting a lot of emails that say, I need documents for my RECA application from 1962 to 2004. So that's taking a lot of time, and this will go with the library too. As much detail as you can give me if you're reaching out, and also the library's gonna tell you this too. As much detail, especially if you're looking for a deed, if you know the date, please add the date in that deed request when that house was bought or when that house was sold. That's gonna save the researchers, because a lot of these deeds that go back to anything before 1970 in St. Louis County is on microfilm. So they've got to physically go look for these documents, and if you give a vague, I think they lived there in the 60s, that's gonna take a lot of time. So if you can do the upfront research of trying to figure out, okay, this is when my parents bought this house, I think this year, that's gonna be really helpful in people getting your documents and getting them to you faster and saving staff time for the library so they can move on and help someone else. Because we've got, remember, there's former residents too, so we're not just helping St. Louis County residents that are current, former residents are eligible as well, but you do not have to live here anymore to be eligible. So, as much detail as is possible when you reach out for documents. And again, you don't need 40 years of documents. Figure out the years that you're gonna need before your cancer diagnosis and request that. It's gonna save you money too, so it helps everybody out. And again, the DOJ doesn't need a box. That's gonna make your application process take longer, which means it'll take longer for you to get approved. So, this webpage again contains resources that can assist you with your claim with St. Louis County documents. So how do you send in your application? This address is on your application. It is on the application where you need to mail this claim to. One thing I want to tell you, having formerly worked in Congress and all the things that are going on with the U.S. Postal Service, we don't blame them. They're, hug your mail carrier. It's a top-down problem, not bottom-up, but I would suggest using certified mail or a private email carrier to ensure that you have a tracking number. That's gonna make you sleep better at night. That's gonna help your anxiety. Did my application get there? That way you have that tracking number. Do that. I would not. I'm sorry?
Can you go back to the screen before that?
This is online on the website. And if you don't have access to the internet, you can call St. Louis County or go to St. Louis County Library, and they're gonna have all this information for you, so you can go online there and you can search it there. So how do you send your application in? You're gonna send it to this address here. And again, this address is on your applications. So for assistance in acquiring documents, who are the folks that a lot of you can get documents from? So St. Louis County's Department of Revenue, the Department of Public Health, the Assessor's Office, and again, Human Resources of St. Louis County. If you worked for St. Louis County and you were, say, with the Parks Department and you were quite often in a certain park that's in the impacted zip code, go and get that documentation from St. Louis County. From us, you can get deeds, some tax records, HR records, birth certificates, marriage certificates, the short form death certificate. So I would suggest going straight to state and getting the long form. Health records, if you use St. Louis County Health System. So somebody brought up last night, if you ever got vaccinations from St. Louis County, we have, from what I just talked to, I think from 1990, we have vaccination records. That could also improve residency if you were using the county health department to get your vaccinations. Some occupancy permits, and then again, voting records. I want to stress the Board of Elections has a form on their website. We have it on the RECA support webpage. You can order voting records. From your federal and state offices, so your feds are going to have military records, IRS tax records. Now, the IRS, the tax records also don't go back that far. It depends on certain circumstances. Do you have the exact number? I think it's 7. 7 years. But your W-2s. Is it?
Oh, yes. So
7.
It's 7. Like our offices help people get ones that are extremely old. It just usually takes them long time ago, so.
Okay,
Because they're way very young,
okay. So your federal census, I don't know, this is another stressor of just like saying register to vote, fill out your census. If you filled out your census, you can request your personal census records. Now there is a fee to it, it is $65. That's for after the 1950 census. Then before 1950, so the 1940 census, that is public record and anyone can access that. For after the next census, it is not public record because there's a 70-year rule on that. But you can request your public census records or your parents'. So your direct kin, you can request theirs, but it's for a fee of $65. If you're just having no luck in anything else, that is a route. Don't know timelines on how long that would take, I can't guarantee you, but it is an option. So with the St. Louis County Library, the digital archives contain hundreds of digitized records, including Missouri yearbooks, St. Louis newspapers, St. Louis city and county directories, burial certificates, maps, and atlases. So I want to stress on the county directories, right? So back in the day, there used to be, before the phone book, there were county and municipal directories. So I don't know if St. Anne has any of those, but a lot of times, some of these municipalities, if you're in a municipality, they have municipal directories, right? And St. Louis County Library has a lot of those, and they're gonna have the name and the address. Sometimes, as Brent said from St. Louis County Libraries, it has jobs listed, so we didn't care about privacy back then. That's his joke.
Catholic churches did that too.
Yeah, Catholic churches as well. The Catholic churches do have a lot, and we have the link to the Arch page. They are well aware and they're working on getting people documents. But the St. Louis County, especially yearbooks. So what's an example of why a yearbook or a newspaper could be important? And as Brent showed an example last night, when he was a kid, he was on the honor roll, and they posted it in the newspaper. So that's something you could use to prove when you were a child that you lived in an impacted zip code, because I got the honor roll into school, and there's a whole news article about it. That can be used as documentation. Burial certificates also can show that someone lived in the impacted zip code. So there's a lot of different ways we can be creative and try to find ways that document that you lived in a space. If there are news articles saying, you were at the ribbon cutting for the county pool, we can find other things that show you're in the area. We can get creative with this if we have to.
I have a question. One thing, if you live in two of the zip codes at two different times, are you supposed to show for each zip code the like four years?
So, and we're gonna take questions after.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine, but I will answer this one. She asked, if you lived in, we have a lot of folks that lived in multiple of the impacted zip codes over the years. Do I need to prove all of that? You need to prove 2 years. But on the application, you can mark all the zip codes you lived in and list the address, but you only need documentation for one. That's all that's necessary. If you want to add a little bit of extra pepper documentation in to show you lived in another zip code, you can do that. I wouldn't overload it.
That's what I was worried about, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there's multiple ways you can get assistance from getting documents. It's municipalities, occupancy permits, tax records, HR records, your educational institutions and school districts. So that's another thing. If you went to Flow Valley, I went to Flow Valley for 2 years. So I could reach out to Florissant Valley Community College and get my old college records that prove I went to school in the impacted zip codes, right? Any of the high schools. These school records are gonna help you. If you're having trouble finding residency documents, if you went to one of the community colleges, if you went to UMSL, if you went to any of these schools, you can get those records as well. So your medical institutions and providers, another thing, your employers, your labor unions. We have a lot of folks. My dad was a McDonnell Douglas employee for a long time, and he's unfortunately passed. He was impacted by this. But they should have employment records. If people are having problems, Boeing is aware, and I think they're working to see what they have. But your labor unions, a lot of the labor unions sometimes have health records. So if you're having issues with maybe getting some health records from your provider, maybe if you're a union laborer, reach out to your labor unions and they might possibly have something. I can't guarantee that. And then again, your faith-based institutions, they have a lot of records sometimes. So for application assistance, you're gonna look at your congressional delegations, right? So obviously, Senator Hawley's office is the big one, and I would say if you have questions regarding federal issues, the best people to get answers from on what documents are necessary is Senator Hawley's office. There you have a direct line to the DOJ, and they're gonna be able to answer those questions the best. I don't, as a St. Louis County employee, want to tell you something wrong and that messes up your application. I'm a county employee. I am best to answer questions on county documents. I can help with a lot of things and piece things together, but if you have a detailed document question, will the DOJ accept this document? Does this work? Please reach out to Senator Hawley's office. And also, again, as Karen and John mentioned, there's still zip codes to work on, so if you have a cancer diagnosis that's not in here, an autoimmune disorder that's not in here, a zip code, please reach out to Senator Hawley's office. Dr. M and Madeline are here to work with you on that. But so for application assistance, it's Senator Hawley's office, it's Congressman Bell's office, Congresswoman Ann Wagner's office, Senator Schmidt's office. They're gonna help you in getting federal documents. For your advocacy and nonprofits, we have Pink Angels Foundation with the email there. You can reach out to them. They'll meet you somewhere and help you with those applications until the office is stood up. But St. Louis County Library can help you with getting those documents and printing out applications if you need it. There is a source for that. And then if you have a St. Louis County Library card, you also get a $5 printing credit. And so if you haven't used that, you can use that $5 printing credit to print things out. Volunteer attorneys, as Dr. Jones spoke of with WashU law students, they're going to be helping. And I know university and colleges are looking at ways they can stand up to assist. Here's one thing I really want to stress, and it's a fraud alert. I don't know if you all are on social media, but my Facebook will not stop with these law firm RECA ads. You do not need to pay a law firm to fill out your application. Everybody here is working really hard to make sure you don't have to do that. We've heard instances before the applications were even out of law firms calling and telling people that they were going to help them fill out their application. We've heard of people getting phone calls of people saying they are the Department of Justice and they need to get information about them on their RECA applications. I want to be very clear, the federal government isn't calling you unless you schedule an appointment with them. The DOJ is not calling you unless you are getting a subpoena. So, they're just not. So, if someone calls you and says, I'm from the DOJ, you haven't yourself already reached out to the DOJ and asked them for a question or been in communication with them, do not give those people your information. By law, law firms can only charge you 2% to fill out your applications. The first round. And this is the concern we have with some of these predatory law firms. If your application fails, they can then charge you 10% of what you would earn from your claim. So the concern is these law firms are going to be reaching out to people doing a bad application on purpose so that they can come back and then charge you more. So all the people in this room up here, we're all here to help you and assist you. Please don't pay law firms to fill out your applications for you. Well, and if they are asking you, especially for exorbitant fees, or saying we can get 40% of your claim, please report them to the Missouri Attorney General's office, these numbers here, to Senator Hawley's office, and to the Department of Justice, because they will be prosecuted for trying to defraud people that are filing for claims.
They're calling now.
So, if you have questions regarding RECA, again, Senator Hawley's RECA hotline, great source of information, especially regarding federal documents. If you are eligible, Just Moms STL, these heroes up here, obviously a wealth of knowledge on this and sending you in the right direction. But again, bear with all of us, our inboxes are flooded, it's crazy. And then regarding county documents, again, the St. Louis County website, and then RECA support at stlouiscountymo.gov. Again, please give me grace. I have a tracker of all the emails that are coming in, and I'm getting you answers. I'm trying to find time to train somebody up to help me answer those, but I'm not going to forget about you, and I'm going to answer your question if you reach out to RECA support. I'm going to send you to the right person. And then for application assistance, again, the Pink Angels Foundation with Dr. Jones right here. You can reach out to this email, and then she can meet you to help you with these applications. So, some commonly asked questions. This is a rough one, but I'm going to use my own family's example because we get this question a lot. And I know there's a lot of people in this room. I think I've already talked to someone that said, my family member, this family member, this family member. So if I'm suffering from more than one type of cancer, do I receive $50,000 for each illness? My sister has 3 primary cancers and she grew up in the creek. She can only apply for herself, just for her claim, the one time for the one illness. That's for her application. But here's my family's deal. My father, I have 3 brothers and sisters that are half brothers and sisters. My dad was married before he met my mother. My father passed from cancer, was impacted in the zip codes, worked for McDonnell Douglas. His first wife, she just passed from cancer 2 months ago, 3 months ago. She grew up on the creek. So my 3 half brothers and sisters, they all also have cancers. So, they can all make a claim for themselves, that one-time claim for themselves. Then, the 3 of them can make a claim on one application for their mother that will be split between the 3 of them, even after they filed their own, for their own cancer. Then, for my father, the 5 of us can make a claim for my father's cancer. So does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. It's complicated, but it's a good example. Horrible, but yeah. Yeah. Why is my illness not included? And again, John and Karen talked about this, but the RECA expansion covers certain specified cancers that have a well-established link to radiation exposure, based on scientific evidence and statistical associations. So there is more work to do to get these other cancers added, and Senator Hawley's office and everybody up here is going to advocate to do that. Because these folks right here, these ladies that have worked their butts off for you for 15 years, their families and their own diseases are not included, right? So it's not that, oh, we just didn't care. They fought the DOJ hard, and if anybody tells you that they didn't fight hard enough and it's nonsense that these other cancers aren't included or autoimmune diseases aren't included, I'm going to tell you, they fought for 15 years and their issues are not included. So don't let people tell you that. They fought very hard. They fought to get what they could, and this is what the DOJ would allow right now. There's more work to do. And the same thing with the zip codes. There are other zip codes that should be included, but there has to be that documentation, and we have to fight further and work to get documents classified. So people are fighting and they're working on it, but don't think everybody didn't work really hard to get where we're at. So when is your application due? Your application is due December 31st, 2027. The DOJ will keep reviewing them until 2028, but you need to get those applications in as of now, December 31st, 2027. Okay. And then I'm gonna pass it out over to Dr. M from Senator Hawley's office, who can go into all the federal and what Senator Hawley's office did to champion this legislation.
Good evening, everyone. I've been introduced already, but say it again. I'm Amanda Lowenpa. I represent Senator Hawley in the St. Louis office, and I have joined the staff as the RECA program manager. So Senator Hawley, for the last 2 years, has been so dedicated to this issue. It's been his top legislative priority. And so on July 4th, when the One Big Beautiful Bill was signed into law, the expansion of the RECA program, which has been around since the 90s but did not include Missouri, was in that thanks to Senator Hawley. But he is not done standing next to you and advocating for Missourians. And so that is why I and the rest of the St. Louis staff are here, is we want to help you as much as possible, answer your questions. We have the RECA hotline set up. It is ringing constantly, and we are getting to those messages as quickly as possible. So thank you all for being here tonight, and we'll be happy to take questions.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, we can talk about this one.
Okay. Questions?
So on that slide, you're saying nothing's going to be paid out until almost the first of 2028, is that correct?
No.
Okay, that's kind of confusing to all of us. So if the claim is approved, then it gets paid out, correct?
Yes.
We think so. There are conversations ongoing with the Department of Justice, and obviously that's at the top of the list is when. There shouldn't be a reason why once they get an application and approve it, because the money from the reconciliation package for RECA is sitting there. It is, so it doesn't have to come, it is already there in that bank account. But we are gonna get an answer to that ASAP. But we will, Danielle just said, we will change this slide. Thank you for that feedback. If that's confusing, that helps us be able to fix this.
Thank you. Next question is I know we're gonna send it certified, so you're gonna get that receipt back. Is there a website that says, hey, we received your claim, we're processing it? And then if there's something wrong with it, are they sending the entire package back to us?
So that's a great question, and so our understanding of how it has worked historically is that once they get it and they look at it, we're assigned like a claim number, and you'll see that on the packet, and they will write a claim number. So what we're hoping and what we're advocating for is that that would be the case, and you could look up under your claim number. Does that make sense?
And then
that
it'll
they
be sent to us.
Right, so that they would have your contact information, they would let you know they received it with your claim number, and you would have a way to kind of track that and communicate directly with them. Obviously, communication with the federal government can be tricky, but that is why Senator Hawley has dedicated staff, so that if something gets stuck, if you're not hearing back, but there is also a direct number for the Department of Justice that you can call and speak with somebody that will be able to hopefully look that up.
And my third question is a personal question. When my mom registered me, my birth name is not what she registered me under all these years. If my social security, the date of birth match, and my last names match, how's that going to work?
So that's a really great question. You know what? That's one that we would write down. I think that what we'll do, with your permission, if you'll come see us afterwards, is we'll write that specific question down, and then Senator Hawley's office can take it and ask and get back with you. But that's why we're here. There are these complicated things like that. What I can tell you though is that what we are hearing back from the Department of Justice, and then Dr. Jones is also going to have access to the WashU legal students, right, who can help with that a little bit too. We think that the Department of Justice is going to be very lenient. One thing they have to do that you have to remember is they also have to work with other RECA communities, and one of those communities is the Navajo Nation. And it's a very difficult place to have, it's very hard to prove. There's not a lot of documentation out there. So these questions are things that they already anticipate that, they're gonna have to find answers to. Thank you.
The compensation amount is $50,000 max. What if your out-of-pocket is above $50,000?
Go after that.
So the compensation is $50,000 or medical reimbursement, okay? Now, the medical reimbursement is a little bit more trickier, right? You have to prove that the insurance paid out and that you paid the remaining balance, and then you would have to provide proof of that payment. And so you would submit that information to be reimbursed up until December 31st, 2028. Does that answer your question?
Is there a maximum on the medical reimbursement? You file whatever that dollar amount is above and beyond the 50. Thank you.
But those bills have to pertain to that cancer. So
I would assume so.
all of
Yes.
those, yes,
Yeah.
all of those medical bills have to pertain to that cancer.
But it's not both, because I keep hearing you say on top of the 50. It's not both, it's either.
No, that's what I was asking. If your medical out-of-pocket was above the 50, that goes away, you're not entitled, but you got 400,000 in expenses, give me that documentation as long as it pertains to treatment for that particular cancer.
Yes,
sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my question is, if you have your paperwork, like say you have your files, you have your papers for, I'm gonna say taxes, do those have to be certified, sending them back?
So, again, if you check the authorization portion on the application, that gives them the,
Page 14.
yeah, the authorization to, access your medical records, that's one. And also, if you, were on the cancer registry, right, to access the cancer registry, you're giving them two other options to verify that information that has not been certified.
Okay.
Or you can take those medical records to your institution, your medical institution, and have them certified with documents. And then your tax records.
So I can go.
All right, I'm working my way up front, guys, so hold on. I know you guys in the front have your hands up.